All right, this is the City of Reno Planning Commission meeting Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. The time is 6:02 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Williams.
My honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
Item number 2, roll call. Madam Clerk.
Chair Jockman,
Here.
Chair Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Becerra,
here.
Commissioner Del Villar,
Here.
Commissioner Gonfiantini,
Here.
Commissioner Romeyer,
Here.
Commissioner Velto.
Here.
We have a quorum of the Reno City Planning Commission.
Okay, a few announcements before we begin. We will not be hearing item 8.1 on the C-Tax. Jackie is sick tonight, and so that will be at our next meeting. Is that correct? And we will take the public hearings beginning with item 7.4, then following with 7.1, 2, and 3. We will now move on to item number 3, public comment. Madam Clerk.
It should be noted for those in the audience that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that the Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you're an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. I do not have any requests to speak forms for this item. We did receive correspondence that was entered into the public record and forwarded to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any requests to speak under this item in public comment within chambers? And you said there was nothing online?
We have no one online with their hand raised.
Okay, we will move to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Commissioner Williams, motion.
Commissioner
Becerra,
Gomping.
second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams, a second from Commissioner Becerra. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item number 5, approval of the minutes for possible action. These are the minutes from the City of Reno Planning Commission meeting September 17th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting?
Commissioner Becerra, motion to approve.
Commissioner Gonfiantini, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We will now move on to item number 6, staff announcements. Mr. Raley.
Yes, just a few staff announcements this evening. As you mentioned, City Manager Jackie Bryant was scheduled to present on the C-Tax under item 8.1. Unfortunately, she can't be here tonight, so we'll reschedule that for our next meeting on November 5th. Just to get you up to speed on some council actions that have occurred since our last meeting. The Mount Rose Junction Specific Plan District, that project went to council and was denied by the councils. That project will not be moving forward. They did approve the Orcrest Drive zoning map amendment, which this board recommended approval of. Also, the ADU ordinance has been adopted and is now part of code. And then lastly, the Regional Governing Board overturned the Regional Planning Commission denial of Stonegate. And those are my only announcements.
Thank you for the update, Mr. Raley. We will now move on to item number 7, public hearings. Under this, we will begin with item number 7.4. This is a staff report for possible action, case number LDC 26-00010, boat sales conditional use permit. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests for comment under this item?
I do not have any requests to speak forms. It doesn't look like we have anyone online with their hand raised. We did receive other correspondence that was forwarded to the commission and entered into the public record.
Thank you very much. Well, let's proceed with disclosures, starting with Commissioner Gonfantini.
Read and reviewed the materials, spoke with the representative.
Commissioner Jockman, phone call with the applicant representative, read and reviewed materials.
Commissioner Williams read and reviewed materials and spoke with the applicant.
Commissioner Delviar.
And repeat materials and familiar with the site.
Could you please repeat that? That was unclear on our end.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Del Villar read and received the materials and familiar with the site.
Commissioner,
Commissioner Val, sorry, Chair, apologies.
Commissioner Valto, please.
Commissioner Valto, same disclosures as Commissioner Del Villar.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
No disclosures.
Commissioner Becerra.
Same disclosures as Commissioner Delviar. Thank you.
All right, for this item, if any commissioners would like to make a motion at this time, we can proceed with that. If any commissioners would like to request a presentation on this item, we can hear a presentation from staff.
Yeah, I'm not supporting expedited projects.
Okay, staff presentation, please proceed.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Leah Picotti, and I am an Associate Planner with the City of Reno Development Services. This evening, I am presenting two different applications, but this is the first one. This is for the boat sales conditional use permit. So the request before you tonight is on a site just shy of 15 acres. This is just north of the I-80 and south, basically just west of the Cabela's out on I-80. That's probably the best way to describe it. And tonight's request is a conditional use permit to allow 12 or more automobiles, trucks, mobile homes, RVs, boats, or trailers to be stored on site for sale or rental. It is important to note that while this does allow for all of those different items, the actual request before us today is for boat sales. However, under code, it's listed all of those, so that's what the request is. The zoning district on this site is mixed-use suburban, as is the site to the west. The site to the east is the Cabela's, just there in the red, and you can see there is some single-family, large lot residential zoning over to the west, and some single-family to the north. Key issues when we evaluated this request were compliance with Reno Municipal Code and compatibility with surrounding uses and developments. I point out those surrounding uses now because it's important to understand the background of this particular site. So in August 2021, a conditional use permit was issued for an industrial facility with residential adjacency. That conditional use permit also requested 24-hour operation and an alternative equivalent compliance for the transparency standards. The reason that I bring this up is that both this and the warehouse to the west were entitled under that 2021 conditional use permit. And then in September of 2025, a minor conditional use permit was issued for fewer than 12 boats for sale or rental on this property. And again, the reason I bring both of these up is that those conditions of approval mitigated any of the impact on residences in the area. So we did request that there would be a sound study done. That was completed, and as a result of the sound study, the building design was modified to mitigate those impacts on the adjacent residential. All services to be performed indoor only. There was enhanced landscaping and screening, not only in the front there, but also along the side adjacent to the residential. We requested that they modify the sign placement under that conditional use permit, and all lighting has to be dark sky compliant. So basically, all of those conditions of approval follow through into this entitlement and are also applied here. So the conditional use permit findings are on the board. Staff finds that it does meet all of the findings and is recommending approval of this application. Sorry, I feel like I'm losing my voice. And with that, the recommended motion is on the board, and I am available for questions. And Garrett Gordon is here to represent the applicant as well, and also has a presentation. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation at this time? That's your decision.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My presentation is very similar to staff, so I'm here for any questions, but I'll forego a presentation given pretty simple tonight. Thank you.
We will now move on to questions from the commission. Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you, Leah, first off, and just staff for that clear and comprehensive report that it was good to read through it. And it's really helpful to see how this request builds on the prior approvals and maintains the consistency with that Mortenson Garrison plan while transitioning this corridor kind of towards that mixed employment supporting uses. And definitely love the adherence to dark sky. That's always nice. Just a few questions, I guess. Are there any anticipated changes in like the noise, traffic, or lighting intensity compared to the prior industrial use?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Becerra. Leah Picotti, for the record. When this site was originally developed under that 2021 entitlement, they assumed that it would be warehousing and distribution, which is why it had that 24-hour on there. So when staff looked at this particular request, this is much less intense than what the site was originally intended for. So staff found that all of the mitigation that was placed under the conditional use permit was adequate mitigation.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So that kind of builds on my follow-up. Thanks, Leah. Just given that condition number 5 requires, if I'm understanding it correctly, requires all washing and maintenance indoors, does staff anticipate any kind of stormwater management implications or ongoing best management practices inspections?
That would all be looked at under the engineering, but I believe that because the site is already developed, all of the BMPs are already in place for that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. That's all the questions I have for now.
Do we have any other questions from commissioners? I believe I requested public comment previously. Mr. Riley, we've been through that, correct?
Yes,
Madam Clerk?
we don't
Thank you.
have anyone online with their hand raised, and I still don't have any request forms.
Very good. If we have no other questions from the commission, we will now move on to deliberations, and any motions may be entertained at this time.
Commissioner Williams, I'm ready for a motion, if you'll have one.
Please proceed.
Commissioner Williams, for the record, in case number LDC 26-00010, boat sales conditional use permit, based on the compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Confiantini, I second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams and a second from Commissioner Gonfiantini. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. That concludes item 7.4. We will now move on to item number 7.1, staff report for possible action, LDC 26-00008, High Sierra Gas. For this item, we will begin with a presentation from staff. Mr. Foster, please proceed.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. The first case I'm bringing you tonight is LDC 26-8, which is High Sierra Gas. It's been a while. I need to remember how to do this. Okay, site size is approximately 66.81 acres. It's a parcel located on the northwest corner of Lear Boulevard and Stead Boulevard. It's developed with a large industrial building that was built in 1987. The parcel is surrounded on 3 sides by industrial uses and undeveloped parcels that are zoned industrial and neighborhood commercial. There are residential uses adjacent to the parcel on the east side across 2 roads. The request before you is a conditional use permit to allow a propane storage and distribution facility that exceeds the 10,000 pound threshold for propane per NRS Chapter 459. So the applicant leased an approximately 14,000 square foot area in the north central portion of the parcel, roughly in the area shown by the blue star, but did not obtain the conditional use permit prior to establishing operations. The requirement for the CUP was identified during the business license application process. Key issues that staff analyzed are compatibility with surrounding uses, site operations, and agency coordination. The master plan land use is industrial, as is the zoning district. Some background, the 30,000 gallon storage tank holds approximately 24,000 gallons of liquid propane, or approximately 100,000 pounds of propane when full at 80%. The site previously contained 3 30,000 gallon tanks that the prior owner used for the backup power for a paper manufacturing facility on the parcel. And you can see those 3 30,000 gallon tanks on the site here. Those tanks were removed sometime between 2019 and 2021 based on aerial photography. The applicant purchased the tanks and reinstalled one of them, and about the same time acquired an existing propane distribution company and has been using the site for the storage and propane delivery since October of 2021. Turning to compatibility, the general development pattern in the area is industrial with residential to the east. The 3 30,000 gallon propane tanks were located in the same spot on this site for decades. The tank is approximately 350 feet from the closest industrial buildings to the north and the south, as you can see on the image here. The tank is about 840 feet away from the closest residential property line. And a portion of the eastern parcel perimeter has a large berm such that the tank is not visible from the residential area. Therefore, it is staff's opinion that the use is generally compatible with the existing uses in the area. Turning to site operations, the site is not customer-facing, does not have retail propane bottle filling that we might see at other places. The applicant simply keeps propane trucks, tools, parts, and customer tanks in the yard. The 30,000 gallon tank is filled with a large transport propane carrier. The applicant then self-loads their propane trucks and delivers fuel to customers. Employees generally access the yard at about 7 a.m. and return by 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Weekend deliveries are made when needed. The site has 24/7 security with 3 locked gates needed to access the facility. The gate that at the facility, in the fenced compound, remains locked when personnel are not on site, and staff has included that as condition number 5. The other 2 gates are locked after normal business hours, and the main gate off Lear Boulevard is under supervision. The location follows all NFPA 58 code requirements, which staff has included as condition number 6. What is NFPA 58? It's the industry benchmark for the safe liquid propane gas storage, handling, transportation, and use, and mitigates risks and ensures safe installation to prevent failures, leaks, and tampering that could lead to fires and explosions. The tank, which sits in a safe and secure location exceeding minimum distance requirements, has necessary safety valves for piping and emergency shutoff equipment, and the applicant has full approval from the Nevada LP Gas Board. So, for projects that involve hazardous materials, RMC requires that the administrator consult with the following agencies: the City of Reno Emergency Management Board, which does not actually exist, the administrator of the Division of Environmental Protection of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the State Fire Marshal, the administrator of the Division of Industrial Relations of the Department of Business and Industry, the commander of any military installation that may be affected by the operation of the facility, of which there are no such facilities, and the governing body of any other city or county that may be affected by the operation of the facility, and again, that is not applicable because the parcel is surrounded entirely by parcels within the City of Reno. So as far as the 3 agencies that I did need to coordinate with, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources said that propane has a unique exemption from CAP under applicability rules. Propane, when used as a fuel or held for sale as a fuel at a retail facility, need not be considered, in other words, it's exempt, when determining whether at least a threshold quantity is present in a process. A retail facility means a facility at which more than 1/2 of the income is obtained from direct sales to end users. I confirmed with the applicant that they do meet the definition of a retail facility, as 100% of their income is derived from direct sales to end users, namely businesses and residences. So I provided that information to DCNR, and they confirmed that they have no further issues. This Nevada State Fire Marshal said, "Our biggest concern with your 30,000-gallon propane tank is to be sure you have a hazardous materials permit. I have checked with our hazardous materials permit division, and they confirmed that you have a current hazardous materials permit, and therefore they have no additional issues." And the Department of Business and Industry said that they do not regulate liquefied propane storage tanks. So the coordination with all three agencies was completed, and none of the agencies had any concerns that needed to be addressed. Here are the recommended conditional use permit findings. Staff can make all recommended findings. And here are additional findings that are required for projects that involve hazardous materials. The Planning Commission shall consider and discuss as a part of the record the health and safety of the residents of the city and the safety and security of any military installation in the city. Again, staff believes that these findings can be made based on the information that I provided throughout this presentation. And here's the recommended motion. And you'll note that in this case, you will be making a recommendation, if you so choose, to recommend that the council approve the conditional use permit, as the Planning Commission is not the final body approving conditional use permits that involve hazardous materials. So with that, that is my presentation. The applicant will not be making a presentation, but is here to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, hearing that we will not have an applicant presentation, we will move on to disclosures, starting with Commissioner Gonfantini.
Read and reviewed all materials.
Commissioner Giacomin, same.
Commissioner Williams, same.
We will now go online to Commissioner Del Villar and proceed in the same order as last time.
Commissioner Del Villar read and received materials and I'm familiar with the site.
Commissioner Valto, same disclosures.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, same.
Commissioner Becerra, same disclosure as Commissioner Del Villar.
That concludes disclosures. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment under this item?
I do not have any request to speak forms. Do we have anyone on Zoom? No hands raised on Zoom. I think we did receive other correspondence for this item that was forwarded to the commission and entered into the public record.
Do we have any requests to speak in chambers on this item? Hearing none, we will now move to questions from the commission. Commissioner Del Villar.
Thank you. Questions for Jeff, if you please. And I just kind of wanted a little bit of clarification. So it sounds like while they sell the propane, the public doesn't physically go there and pick it up. They actually deliver all of it. Is that what I understood?
Yes, your understanding is correct. They are a retail facility in that they sell the propane directly to end users, but not at the site. They only deliver the propane to the end users off-site.
Perfect, thank you. And then I'm also understanding that the facility, the current threshold is 10,000 pounds, and it sounds like this is 100,000 pounds. So it seems like a lot more. So I'm just trying to, and I understand that, some of these tanks have been here before, but it just seems like a large amount of excessive propane.
So the applicant may be able to speak to kind of industry standards and things regarding liquid propane. But yes, it does exceed the 10,000 pound threshold, and that's why the conditional use permit is required. But anyway, I would defer to the applicant to address the question of the size of the tanks.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Carl Winbigler, High Sierra Gas. So to speak about the size of the tank, 30,000 gallon tank is a industry standard for storage, and that just basically allows us to get transport fuel so we can be competitive in the market. If you look at, there's a wholesaler off of 395 and Golden Valley, they have 700,000 pounds of propane at their location, but they're a wholesaler and they do rail. So we only transport in. So in our operations on California, we have 200,000 pounds of propane, or 230,000 gallon tanks. So yeah, I agree that it seems like a lot. The 10,000 pound threshold would be like 4,000 pounds. 4,000 gallons. That's what we have in a truck. So it does seem like a lot. Each gallon weighs about 4.2 pounds. So that's where you get that number. But that size tank is just standard for the industry. That's pretty much anyone that's in business that has storage has multiple, at least one or multiple tanks of that size.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's all I.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just a couple questions here. First off, good report, Jeff. Really appreciate it and your coordination with those multiple state agencies and the applicant. Thanks for your cooperation with the fire marshal and NDEP to kind of verify those current permits and the compliance under NFPA 58. That's always really good to do. The written public comment that we received did raise some understandable concerns about that safety perception near homes. And I think that's what Commissioner Del Villar was probably getting at with her question. So I'll just kind of build upon that. Jeff, I guess you are the applicant. Could you speak to how those concerns were addressed following the Ward 4 NAB presentation and whether additional public outreach or info materials are planned for residents along, what was it, Mountain Babcock Street or Stead Boulevard?
No. So Jeff Foster, Associate Planner. So no additional coordination has happened in terms of kind of public outreach or anything. I would point out a couple of things. One is, as I pointed out in the presentation, there used to be 3 30,000 gallon propane storage tanks on this site in the exact same location that have been there for multiple decades. And so this applicant is proposing 1 tank at this point in time in the exact same location. Nothing has changed in terms of the proximity of the homes. Exact same conditions as have always existed. And this tank is already existing and they've been operating there since 2021. So staff did not feel that any additional kind of coordination was needed or public outreach or anything of that nature. I obviously recognize that people are concerned about things that go boom, right? But I would also point out, given those separation distances, approximately 840 feet to the residences, you've got the berm, the centralized location of the compound within the parcel, the 3 security gates. All of those things, to me, mitigate any concerns in terms of the site being proximate to residential. Also, Fire Marshal Beck is here. And you may have some questions that he might be able to chime in on. But I know that he also kind of analyzed the safety of the site. And in fact, it may be appropriate for Fire Marshal Beck to address the safety issue with regard to those types of public concerns.
Sure, thanks, Jeff. If the Fire Marshal so wishes, it would be great to hear.
For the record, Fire Marshal John Beck, Reno Fire Department. I worked with Jeff quite a bit on this, and pretty much the fire department's, my position is the authority having jurisdiction concurs with all of these cogent points that were brought up. Specifically was the site security. There's 24-hour security, and the public doesn't have direct access into the site. And additionally, NRS 278.147 allows for a conditional use permit to exceed the 10,000 gallon threshold. And all things considered, that the business has been operating for decades with 3 times that amount. There was nothing, and also speaking with the site owners and managers, the cost restraints as far as to only have 10,000 gallons would make it cost prohibitive. The tank itself, I think it was $250,000 as well. So all things considered, it seemed like a very low exposure, and the position is, we feel pretty comfortable with it.
Great, thank you, Fire Marshal. It's really helpful.
And did you have anything more for me?
I do not this time, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra, if you have no further questions at this time, we'll go back to Commissioner Del Villar.
I think I had probably one or two more, but I'll kind of take a step back and give others a little bit of space to ask questions too. Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Commissioner Del Villar.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Villar. So one question I have is if we approve this and then it goes to the city council and they approve the recommendation as well, is there the potential that they could put more tanks in, like put the other 2 tanks back in, or is this specific to just that one tank that exists there right now?
So Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record, the request before you is to exceed the 10,000 pound threshold. Mike, do you have any thoughts on, I honestly don't know if we would require an additional conditional use permit for additional tanks.
I think most likely we would require an amendment to this permit just because condition number 1 is that the project be substantially compliant with the plans presented to you this evening. So if we're tripling the size, for example, of what was there now, we would, I think, in true transparency, bring that back as an amendment to the conditional use permit.
Thank you. That was all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you. Really a clarifying question. I think it might be for you, Jeff. Since the parcel does sit within that industrial node bordering multifamily zoning, I think it's 14 and 30, right? Does do you and the rest of staff anticipate additional buffer landscaping enhancements if future development kind of intensifies on that east side of Stead Boulevard?
I'm not sure I understood the question. So you're saying if there's additional residential development
right
in that area?
Yeah, like would you anticipate additional buffer landscaping needed or not necessarily?
Well, no, I mean, if the conditional use permit has already been, you mean buffered landscaping on the other parcel that might be developed, not on this site? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Okay. Sure, they could. You know, I wouldn't think it would be necessary. And are you speaking, Commissioner Becerra, are you speaking about that neighborhood commercial zone parcel, kind of to the northeast?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I mean, certainly they could. I didn't drive the site in person, but I drove it on Google Street View. And it's pretty, that whole kind of northeastern corner of the subject parcel has a large berm separating it from the areas across the street, across Mount Anderson and Mount Babcock or whatever the other street is. So I don't know that any additional screening in terms of kind of visual screening would be, you know, even recommended for visual issues. But that would be up to the development of on that parcel.
Right, separate. Okay, I appreciate that, Jeff. And I had an additional question about like a reporting trigger, but I think Mike answered that before as far as additional tanks, so I'm good there. And I appreciate you, Jeff, and the fire marshal for answering my questions.
Of course.
Do we have any other questions from members of the commission?
Commissioner Williams, I do, of the applicant, please.
For the record, Carl Winbigler, High Sierra Gas.
Thanks, Carl. If a condition was proposed tonight that asked Sierra Gas to provide like an annual compliance statement as far as this retail exemption and/or just some of the standards that you're obligated to, like the NFPA 58, and a record of any incidents like that year, would you object to that?
No,
okay.
absolutely not.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we want full transparency and our safety is our number one priority.
Great.
Obviously. Yeah, but no, absolutely not. And to kind of speak about the other thing, if we ever needed to, we currently have no future plans to add storage, but if we did, we will let you know for sure, and we will go through the proper procedures and everything. And as far as, you know, if we needed to, you know, if there was another additional development going on or anything like that, well, we wouldn't be opposed to shielding the area or creating some sort of landscape. We would be definitely up for that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think with the comments about safety and the housing and all that stuff, it makes a lot of sense. It might be an extra layer of safety that an annual report be provided. So I appreciate your willingness to
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I understand the question, too. And, you know, the 10 times the allowable limit does seem a lot, for sure. But it's very benign. The liquid propane itself is not flammable. And if we had some sort of catastrophe, there's so many safety features built into the piping, and the tank is, or excuse me, the tank is like a tank, if you
Gotcha.
will. They're very heavy duty. I mean, it's they're an inch thick steel. But yeah, there's really, if there was a hole in the tank, vapor would come out, and that would be the end of it.
Gotcha.
You know, and then we would address that
All right.
problem. But yeah, they're really safe. Yeah, and they last a long time.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for all that extra info.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Giacomin, I have a follow-up question to that, and I guess I'll direct that at staff. If there were to be a report issued annually, I guess one preference that I would have would be that if you, staff, determined something was not in conformance or was not to your satisfaction, perhaps in coordination with the fire marshal, could you, from a first question, would you have the ability to revoke the CUP without coming back to this body?
I think generally speaking, we would probably start at suspending the business license if they were out of compliance. I'm probably looking over at legal to see if to revoke the CUP, I don't think that could be done at an administrative level.
That's correct. If it were, this is Jasmine Mehta for the record, if it were approved at this level, unless that was delegated, that power was delegated, it would have to come back to the Planning Commission.
So I guess I'll come back to that then. The second question I have would be, is there anything that staff would like to see specified in this annual report for review?
For Jeff Foster, Associate Planner, I'm not sure, other than just reviewing the report, what we would necessarily be analyzing.
Sure.
The question for the applicant, is there an annual license that you have to obtain or something along those lines? 'Cause, do you see what I'm getting at?
Yep.
I don't know what we would be, kind of checking, what boxes we would be checking to make sure they were in compliance.
The place where my question is coming from is that I'm not an expert in propane storage. So, and I'm not sure any members of this commission are, but I can understand the concerns coming from Commissioner Williams. So the hearing that, I think that's okay that we don't specify that on the record, but I do think it would be good, whatever condition it is that you're going to propose, Commissioner Williams, that it's outlined as far as the mechanism by which the city staff could implement such a suspension, whether it's the business license or something else, so that it's clear how that process would proceed.
And if I can jump in, we have a couple checks and balances, so to speak, internally. I mean, code enforcement is another route that we go. If they're not compliant with their CUP conditions, we can have our code enforcement division go out and do inspections and, provide citations. So we have some systems of checks and balances between code enforcement and business license, that if the project is out of compliance, there's mechanisms to basically stop that.
So Fire Marshal Beck just pointed out that as a part of the annual business license process that they would have to go through just for the city of Reno, that the fire department conducts an inspection each year as a part of that process. So, I mean, it could be that we could rely upon that, because if we require an annual report, the planning staff has no kind of mechanism to check that, if you will, or make sure that they're submitting it. We could put a reminder in our calendars or something like that. Do you see what I'm saying? That's not a typical type of condition. I suppose we could include it in the business license record and review that each year when the annual business license comes in. And similarly, as I pointed out, the fire department would also be doing an inspection during that annual process. So maybe between the two of those, that could suffice.
So I guess final question for me, that annual inspection by the fire department will occur annually regardless of what conditions we render. Is that correct?
For the record, Fire Marshal John Beck, Reno Fire Department. Yes, so every business license in the city of Reno is subject to a fire inspection as requirements for the business license renewal process. And we call them reoccurring inspections. So every business, with obviously, we have some staff constraints. Our goal is to get into every business every year. Realistically, with the available staff that we have, is about once every 3 years is our average to capture all the businesses. But in the process of inspecting this site, we would look at that tank like we would at any location throughout the city. If we find anything that's out of compliance, like when we inspect, for instance, fueling, like a gas station, we look at all of the requirements that fall underneath that business license, and if they're out of compliance, then we would write a notice of violation. They would have to comply with that, and if they continued out of compliance, then it would escalate to the point where we would have to pull their business license. So we work closely with the business license department. So we do have checks and balances in place, and we do have oversight. If they wanted to just dismiss these, then we have mechanisms to make sure that they come into compliance, or then their license is in jeopardy.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we will now move to deliberations. Seeing as though we have a possible modified motion that may be presented before this body, I kindly ask that we state that explicitly on the record at some point, and if any modifications are made to what was previously discussed, that we afford the applicant the opportunity to weigh in before we move on a motion. So deliberations.
Sure, Commissioner Becerra. I just wanted to say, at face value, this appears to be a good logical reuse given the site's industrial zoning and the legacy propane infrastructure. And I appreciate the improved buffering from nearby homes. And I appreciate that this actually brings an existing operation to proper compliance. And also appreciate that the applicant's willing to provide those periodic safety updates. Now, how a motion or reporting lever looks like, I'll kind of leave it to you all, but I think we're heading in the right direction here.
Commissioner Gonfantini.
Commissioner Gonfantini, I'm happy to hear all the neighborhood NAB comments have been addressed in terms of safety. I know that it's a hard concept to kind of wrap your head around if you don't have familiarity with propane. All of us kind of got a little education tonight, but I'm happy and secure with the fire marshal's presentation and his information that it'll be handled yearly, I'm assuming, and everything will be handled properly.
I'm going, Chair.
I'll say
Discussion?
one thing, Commissioner Jockman. So I have a little bit of pause about adding that extra condition without a certain level of specificity, particularly who would prepare the report, who's qualified to prepare that report. At this moment, I can see that turning into a bit of a bureaucratic process that I don't know if we have outlined it clearly enough to make that a condition of approval. That's not to say I'm double negative. I'm in support of such a condition of approval. I think we should add the specificity necessary to make it clear for the applicant as to how they would go about undertaking that process.
Thanks. You know, with the additional condition that I was kind of approving, so in reading the staff report, I feel like that this was caught because something else wasn't caught during this process, if I'm reading the staff report right. Am I wrong, Mike? So
this came for, and it's not unusual that we find the need for entitlements during business license review. I don't think this was a malicious, I'm trying to get around the rules by any means. The average person doesn't know what triggers certain entitlements. So this is one that did get caught in business license review. The applicant, immediately submitted for a conditional use permit to legalize everything. So, I wouldn't say it's something that it didn't get caught. It's the applicant simply didn't know.
I appreciate that, and by no means I was suggesting that it was done for any nefarious reason. I was just looking over or thinking about a process step where if anything was to change in this conditional use permit, what are our backstops for that? If the sales deviate and this facility doesn't fall under the retail use exemption anymore, what's the backstop for that? Who's going to thing? And I don't know if my intention on a additional condition was to create some sort of process. It was more of a statement from the business owner that he is still within this retail exemption based on his sales, that he hasn't had any major incidents, and one other thing I had in there. But if there's not a process, or if that process is fulfilled by the fire marshal and the fire department, I'm more than happy with that. I was just trying to provide an extra layer of safety for those residents that expressed concern, that we're creating backstops, that if any of these conditional use permit terms were to change, that somebody's paying attention.
Right. So we hold all projects that are conditional use permits, they're held accountable to meet all the conditions that are included. So if retail sales, for example, is your primary concern, we can add clarifying language in that condition that, no on-site retail sales will occur. And then we would, if that started to happen, they would be out of compliance with their conditional use permit. They would have to come back before this board to amend that conditional use permit if they wanted to continue that activity.
So Commissioner Williams, if that's a thing that you're considering adding to as a condition, let's afford the applicant an opportunity to weigh in. So
Okay.
specify that first.
Yeah, and I don't, I don't want to deny him the opportunity to transition away from that exemption if he's allowed to by law, or something changes in his business model. It's more about making sure that if it does, that they come back to somebody or the city and inform them that has changed, instead of 2 years down the road, this becoming a different facility or selling retail or commercial, and traffic is increased in that time, and all the things that come along with a different change of selling.
Yeah, for the record, Carl Winbigler, High Sierra Gas. We would never do that. There's no way for us to make that like a dispenser. So like off of Lemon Drive, there's a dispenser that fills RV-sized bottles, grill bottles. We can only receive propane from a transport, and we're only set up to fill our trucks, a bobtail, which is a propane delivery vehicle, has a 3,000 gallon barrel on it. So we would never fill bottles there, ever. Your grill bottle's 4 gallons. We would never do that. It would never fit our business model, and we would create a new location. And that's, in our industry, that's not very common unless you have a forward-facing customer location with a proper office and a dispenser tank. You would never fill a RV bottle off of a 30,000 gallon tank. Not unless you were doing it in a bottle exchange business, which we don't have any plans to do. If we had cylinder trucks and we had a proper dock and we had the proper dispensing equipment with scales, you would scale the bottle, fill it, load the truck, and go deliver it. But we would never, it's not what we do, and not here, and we never would.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but originally when this business was acquired, approximately 4 years ago, there was another location off Virginia where the business license was. And so then they got this spot, set the tank, and didn't realize what was, we went through the state and the LP gas board and all the other things we had to do. And then, as Jeff stated, in the process of just updating our address, because we actually closed that lease off and moved out of there, that's when it clicked off. And then we immediately started the conditional use process.
Great. Thanks for the clarification. For my part, I feel with the checks that the fire marshal has explained, yearly compliance, and based on the applicant's statement, I'm fulfilled in my not needing an additional condition. So happy to make a motion if we need one.
Do we have any other deliberations or questions from commissioners online?
No, thank you.
Hearing none. Go ahead, Commissioner Becerra.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I'm happy to make a motion as well, if folks are ready.
Commissioner Becerra, please proceed.
Yes. Kelly, may I get your help with a motion on the screen, please? Thank you so much. In the matter of case LDC 26-00008, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to recommend that City Council approve the conditional use permit subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings, and this is Manny Becerra for the record.
Commissioner Gonfantini, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. That concludes this item. We will now move on to item number 7.2, staff report for possible action, LDC 26-00014. This is the United Rentals Lear Boulevard Outdoor Storage. For this item, we will begin with a staff presentation.
Okay, good evening again, members of the Planning Commission. Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. The second case I'm bringing you tonight is LDC 26-14, which is the United Rentals Lear Boulevard Outdoor Storage Project. So the project site is about 8.45 acres, just a stone's throw away from the last one. Located on the north side of Lear Boulevard on the northeast corner of its intersection with Production Drive and Production Court. It is developed with 2 industrial buildings and a large outdoor storage and parking area. The site is within the industrial zone, which allows outdoor storage by right. A conditional use permit is required for storage over 10 feet in height with additional screening as determined appropriate. Additional language from RMC states that where permitted, outdoor storage shall be screened from adjacent roadways and parks and from residential zoned property within 750 feet of the use with 10 feet of landscaping and a solid fence up to 10 feet in height. The maximum height for all material storage is 10 feet, except the decision-making body may approve the storage of equipment taller than 10 feet with additional screening as determined appropriate. Therefore, the request before you tonight is a conditional use permit to allow outdoor storage of shipping containers up to a height of 50 feet, and staff is limiting that per condition number 5. The parcel is surrounded on all 4 sides by industrial uses and undeveloped parcels that are also zoned industrial. The key issues that staff analyzed are compatibility with surrounding uses and site layout and operations. The master plan land use is industrial, and the zoning district is also industrial. Turning to compatibility, the general development pattern in the area is industrial with residential to the east. However, you should note that the closest residential parcels are over 2,500 feet from the site. The hours of operation are between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. And the proposed site is for container storage only, not equipment rental operations that we normally associate with United Rentals. Therefore, staff feels that the proposed use is generally compatible with the existing uses in the area. So on this graphic, on this slide, I wanted to show you that in the red shading in the picture on the left, containers will be stored to the east side of the existing, the east side and behind the large industrial building, which is located approximately 125 feet from, and separated from Lear Boulevard by a parking lot and frontage landscaping. And that's in that area that you can see with a little arrow down there. The containers along the property lines will be stacked no higher than 20 feet or 2 containers high. The stacking of containers 4 to 5 levels high would only occur toward the back of the site, and staff has included that as condition number 6. Stacking of containers 2 to 3 high on the east side of the building would be screened by a security fence with slats, and that's per condition number 7, as well as existing vegetation. Given that containers will largely not be visible from streets and the closest residential parcels are over 3 times further away than the 750-foot threshold for screening per code, staff believes that no additional screening is required. On the next 3 slides, I will be showing you kind of a visual analysis that was prepared by the applicant to demonstrate the existing screening and why no additional screening should be required. This first view is a view looking north from the south side of Lear Boulevard, as you can see on the picture on the left. The top picture shows the view with the existing screening and vegetation in place. And if you kind of look closely, you can see some blue in between the trees at the north end of Production Court there. So that's what those containers would look like that are approximately 650 feet from Lear Boulevard and stacked 4 to 5 levels high. As you can see, they would largely be buffered and screened by distance, the existing landscaping, and intervening buildings. On the picture on the bottom, you can see what those containers would look like were there no vegetation, were all those trees to be removed. The second view is a view looking north from Production Court. I would point out that the only traffic that would be traveling on Production Court would be visiting the 2 businesses. It's not just general traffic passing by. As you can see, if you were to drive down there, though, you would start to see those containers more clearly through the trees there in the picture on the top right. And then again, on the bottom picture, you can see what those containers would look like, stacked 4 to 5 high at the back end of the site, were all of the trees to be removed. And this final view is a view looking north from the southeast corner of the property. As you can see, the little red arrow there. The picture on the top, you can see the existing screening vegetation and what the containers that would be stacked 2 to 3 high would look like. And then in the picture on the bottom, you could see what they would look like without those trees that currently exist. Turning to site operations, access to the site is controlled by a security fence and a gate with security monitoring. The Reno Fire Department, Fire Marshal Beck that was here earlier, commented on container stacking stability, combustibility of materials stored in the containers, and separation distances. Condition number 9 requires that container stacking will only occur on concrete or asphalt, which addresses the stacking stability. The containers do not have internal contents when stored on the property, and minimum width fire lanes will be preserved around all sides of the existing structures to ensure safe and efficient access by emergency vehicles. The containers are completely empty and locked to prevent unauthorized access, and the applicant will maintain stringent and advanced health and safety measures for all operations, including the means and methods for storing and stacking containers based on industry-recognized requirements from ISO and the 2019 International Code Council G5 guideline for the safe use of intermodal shipping containers, and that is required by condition number 8. Here are the recommended findings for a conditional use permit. Staff, again, believes that all recommended findings can be made. And here's the recommended motion. I'm available for questions. The applicant also has a brief presentation to make.
Good evening. Andy Wright, for the record, Monomoy CRE. We're the equitable owner of the property. With me tonight is Rob Heaton from United Rentals. He's the general manager of manufacturing. Jeff, or go ahead and use this for the presentation. So, okay, all right, got it. Okay, so make sure I've got the right one. All right. So what I wanted to do was have Rob here in case there's any specific questions regarding the actual operations. As you saw in the conditional use application, we listed the use of the building, which is a 39,000 square foot and a 4,200 square foot buildings, as an indoor manufacturing facility. The container storage is the key primary component of this facility. So having the ability to be able to store containers on the property at that height will allow efficient operation of this facility. But that's the main reason why I brought Rob here in case there's any specific operation questions. I did want to go one more slide here. Sorry, I'm still on East Coast time, so I'm a little sloggy here. So one of the things that Jeff did talk about here was, and he touched on it briefly, for truck operations, all those will go through production court. There's going to be nothing that's going to go through the vehicle parking lot. They'll be dedicated to the employees, vendors will be using that, so there'll be no cross-pollination between vehicle traffic and truck traffic, which I know was one of Jeff's concern there. And then also he touched briefly, as you can see the green circles, I'm sorry, there's a lot of colors going on the picture on the right. But on the green areas that are bubbled in there, those are the areas where we'll be tiering the containers for storage for those. And the last comment was regarding landscaping. I know in the staff's review, they discussed about if any additional landscaping is warranted, we're happy to go through that process. If anything else is needed, we're very happy with the size of the vegetation that exists today and the health of it. But if there's any others that staff and or the commission feels warranted, we're happy to talk about that. Rob, you want to go ahead?
Rob Heaton, Director of Fabrication for United Rentals, for the record. Let me speak to something specific or answer questions.
Just answer questions. It's up to you.
Yeah. So I don't have anything further to add than they didn't already present, but happy to answer any questions that you guys might have for the operations.
Okay, that concludes the applicant presentation. We will now move on to disclosures from the commission, starting with Commissioner Gonfantini.
Read and reviewed materials.
Commissioner Jockman, same.
Commissioner Williams, same.
We will proceed online in the same order.
Commissioner Del Villar read and received materials and am familiar with the site.
Commissioner Velto, same disclosure.
Sorry, Commissioner Rohrmeyer, notice.
Commissioner Becerra, same disclosures as Commissioner Del Villar.
Okay, we will now move on to questions from members of the commission.
Chair, just to butt in there, we don't have any public comment for this item.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My apologies. I will start with a question. This is Commissioner Jockman. So the questions there largely pertain to fire. On one of the, I believe it's this slide that's up on the screen currently. So the first question is, the red area is what is under this would be approved for storage and or stacking. Is that correct?
Stacking is specifically empty containers. So the containers themselves is the asset. There won't be any contents within those containers.
So, and I apologize, I would like to direct this question at staff, Mr. Foster, if you're available. The, so that area is partially asphalt and it is also partially dirt, is that correct?
It looks like there might be some dirt up in that, northwest corner. Other than that.
You're right.
Yeah.
So in that area, are they allowed to stack under this approval? Or is it just store empty containers at a single level?
In the red area?
In the portion of the red area that is not paved.
Okay. So any storage and stacking of containers will require the area to be paved, irregardless of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 levels.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that since I believe a portion of that outlined area is unpaved. That's what my concern is.
If it's unpaved, it will need to be paved prior to being able to stack the containers there, to store and stack containers there.
Perfect, thank you.
And that's, I don't remember what condition I said that was, but it is one of the
I believe it was 8.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams, I have a very generic one for the applicant. What is the need or want to stack them 5 tall?
Robert Heaton, Director of Fabrication, United Rentals. So the primary purpose of this facility is to take a typical ISO shipping container and refurbish it into what we call a portable building for Nevada statutes. So if you go to any large job site or City of Reno uses them, Washoe County uses them, COVID camp, Hope, the Hope camp that you guys had. Basically, it's a portable building or portable office. So the containers themselves is the asset that then needs to be manufactured. Containers are so large, though, they need to be brought in waves and then stacked in quantity. They can't be brought in, 1 at a time or 10 at a time even, so they'll be brought in, 50 at a time or so. So the need to stack them is just for density, just to be able to use that. Comparable if you were to take a mobile modular unit, an office trailer or something like that with a chassis, or even a van trailer on a typical truck and trailer, it takes so much storage that you would need a lot size that's 10 times this.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Confiantini, these trailers are all branded with the United Rental branding, and they're all maintained in terms of the locking, the bolts, the rust, the paint. The entirety of the unit is completely controlled by you. These are not all brought in from different entities and then stacked on your yard. Is that correct?
Correct. Robert Heaton, United Rentals. And just for clarification, not a trailer, a container.
Container.
So there's no wheels or chassis on these ones.
Locking mechanisms?
Yes, so all containers will have at least 3 points of contact for locking. And then we also additionally put a QC tag on each one of them, so they're locked out. They're also predominantly one-trip containers, which means it only came on one trip from China, Vietnam, South Korea, predominantly for the West Coast, where I came over. So very few, if any of these containers will have rust or anything like that. They're not your old rusted out typical container that we turn into an office.
I just wanted to make that point because there was a slight misrepresentation in the staff report that there was a photograph that was just showing stacked containers, and they were a variety of colors. And so I just wanted to make sure that that wouldn't be representation of what you have at your facility.
Correct. They would
Thank
come
you.
in bland, and they would go out United Rentals decal.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think, just for point of clarification, that was from a merger with an Australian company. So as I pulled together that exhibit, I happened to notice that they were different colors.
Yeah, just happy to let the public know.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you. Just to build upon the stacking questions, Jeff, could you or Reno Fire please briefly just describe how stacking to 50 feet will be monitored or verified for compliance over time with the ISO and ICC G5 standards, I think as you noted in condition number 8?
So the condition requires, so there's two conditions, right? There's condition number 5, which requires the maximum of 50. And that would be, as with anything where we have condition number 1 that says as submitted. So we're not going to go around and kind of inspect them on a regular basis or something like that. We could include it in the business license approval. But there's not a kind of a mechanism to ensure that they all of a sudden don't put a 6th level up there. It's just kind of, that's what the condition says, so that's what we would be limiting them to.
Okay, sounds good. And just to follow up maybe on that is that all of the site's fully industrial, and I do recall there was like a rendering provided during your presentation. What visibility analysis confirms that the 5 high stacks aren't visible from Lear Boulevard or the nearby corridors, especially during winter when the foliage is sparse?
So, Commissioner Becerra, are you talking about the view shed pictures?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Can you go back to my presentation? By the way, Commissioner Gonfiantini, that image is a little better, a little closer.
Thank you.
So you're talking about these pictures here, Commissioner Becerra?
Yeah, Jeff, thank you.
Right. So, yeah, I would submit that most of those trees are deciduous. So, yes, they probably will be leafless in the winter or soon to be in the fall. These trees that are further to the back, though, look to mostly be pine trees of some sort, conifers of some sort. So they will still continue to provide screening. And those are to the back of this picture, right? It's the same picture, just a little bit further away. So those trees would continue to provide screening of those containers that are towards the rear of the site. And then over here, looks like these are kind of a mixture. Looks like we have some conifers or deciduous and evergreen trees. So kind of a mixture of screening. There will be a fence with slats as well, but of course, that's only going to screen the lower level. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they're not going to be 100% screened, right? There's not a specific mechanism to screen something that height without building, kind of a fence or a wall that is just impossible to build. So it's just kind of relying on the fact that there is existing vegetation, also distance from Lear Boulevard, especially when they get to 4 and 5 levels high, because those are, again, as I said during the presentation, approximately 650 feet from Lear. And then you have the building that would screen the containers towards the back of the site from anyone kind of immediately in front of the building there along Lear. And then you've got the vegetation. So that's what staff relied on in terms of making that determination of not requiring any additional screening. And quite frankly, I don't know what additional screening you could provide. I just don't know how far you could, or what you could build to physically screen those things.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Del Villar.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Villar. So one quick question. I was out there today, and to Manny's point, obviously the leaves are falling a little bit. I still thought that there was enough sort of protection and having some of that visibility. And I agree. I mean, like a 50-foot fence would be pretty silly. But one question I had was, how tall is the building that's actually there? I was trying to. It looked like it was about 30, 35 feet, maybe even 40. I couldn't quite tell.
Okay, so I was just informed that it's about 29 feet and change, so
okay,
roughly 3 stories.
Okay, that was the only question I had. I was just trying to visualize while I was out there, and it was hard. So.
Do we have any other questions from members of the commission? Hearing none, we can now move to deliberations, and any motions can be entertained at this time.
Commissioner Confiantini, I'm happy to support a motion.
Commissioner Becerra, just wanted to share a couple quick thoughts on this one, just because it follows one that we just heard also in Ward 4. And I'd just like to highlight the importance of just keeping balance along this corridor as industrial activity really increases. And just hope that we're looking at it kind of holistically moving forward. And I know staff and Jeff, you do a good job with that, and we're all trying to do our best here. But looks like Ward 4 is really getting intensified here on the industrial side, and just hoping that we can find that good balance.
Any other deliberations from the commission? Hearing none, Commissioner Confiantini, would you like to proceed with a motion?
Commissioner Confiantini, in the matter of case LDC 2600014, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings.
Commissioner Williams, I second.
Commissioner Williams, please proceed.
Commissioner Williams, I second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Confiantini and a second from Commissioner Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. We will now move on to our final public hearing item of the night, item number 7.3, staff report for possible action and recommendation to City Council. Case number LDC 26-00011, South Valleys Park zoning map amendment. For this item, we will start with disclosures, and then we will proceed with a staff presentation, starting with Commissioner Confiantini.
Commissioner Confiantini read and reviewed all materials.
Commissioner Jockman, members of the commission, and Madam Clerk, here the applicant is seeking recommended adoption of a zoning map amendment. The applicant is a client of my employer. On this matter, I sought guidance from the city's attorney's office. I have been advised that I have a per se commitment in a private capacity to the interests of my employer under NRS. I have also been advised that the independence of judgment of a reasonable of a reasonable person in my situation would be materially affected by my commitment in a private capacity to the interests of my employer. As such, I will not be participating or voting on this item today. Madam Clerk, please accept this disclosure and lodge it on the record for this meeting pertaining to this agenda item. I will step out of the room. Commissioner Williams, please proceed.
All right, thanks, Chair Jockman. Commissioner Williams for disclosures, read and viewed material provided. And we'll just head to online in the same order.
Commissioner Del Villar, I have read and reviewed the materials and familiar with the site.
Commissioner Valto, same disclosures.
Commissioner Romeyer, same.
Commissioner Becerra, same disclosures as Commissioner Del Villar.
All right, now that we're clear with disclosures, we'll open it up to a staff report. Ms. Picotti.
Hello again, Commissioners. Leah Picotti for the record. This is the second application I'm presenting for you guys tonight, and this one is the South Valleys Park Zoning Map Amendment. So this particular parcel is close to 70 acres in size. We've probably all seen this down in South Reno. It is just north of the Interstate 580 and just to the west of South Virginia Street. This particular site is part of the Washoe Valley Park Library Reno Ice sort of development that's going down there. And today's request is a zoning map amendment from mixed-use suburban to parks, greenways, and open space. I will preface this with this is another one of those situations that we've seen before where the zoning district that has been applied, that was applied in 2021 with our code update, does not conform to the master plan of parks, greenways, and open space. And I'll get into that here in just a second. So as you can see, the master plan on this site is currently parks, greenways, and open space. There are several master plan policies that apply to this particular site, and we can get into those a little bit more here in a minute. But you can see that the site is currently in the mixed-use suburban zoning district, which does not conform to the parks, greenways, and open space master plan. And the basic reason for that is that this area was originally part of the South Virginia Transit Corridor, which was eliminated in our previous code update. And basically everything that was within that corridor became mixed-use suburban, including this particular parcel. However, because it's a park, and it's always been a park, and it has that master plan designation of parks, it doesn't really seem to make sense that it be developed in conformance with the mixed-use suburban standards, which is why we're here today. So this is just a zoning map amendment to bring this site into conformance with the master plan. Again, those development standards didn't make sense on this particular property, so that is why they're changing it. It does allow for expansion of park and public facilities. However, any entitlements that would be required for residential adjacency, there's a major drainage way on this site, those still do apply. So if it is developed in the future with non-residential type uses, that residential adjacency standards will still be triggered and it will still require an entitlement. Zoning map amendment recommended findings are on the board. Staff was able to make all of the findings and is recommending approval of this. The recommended motion is on the board and I am available for questions, as is the applicant. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Leah. There is no staff or applicant presentation, correct? But they're here for questions.
Correct, and then we do need to open up for public comment.
All right. And Madam Clerk, do we have anybody for comment?
I do not have any request to speak forms. I don't have anyone in Zoom with their hand raised. We did receive other correspondence that was forwarded to the commission and entered into the record.
All right. With no public comment here in the chambers, we'll go right into questions from the commission. Who would like to start? Oh,
I'm just here to answer the questions.
perfect. Okay. So the applicant is here to answer questions. So anybody on the commission, we can open up commissioner questions.
Sure. Commissioner Becerra, for the record. Let's see, there were some kind of comments from the NAB folks. I think they were talking about like trees, canopy. So could staff, I think it's Leah, right? You're presenting. So could Leah, could staff ensure tree and shade metrics are integrated into the like future site plan review criteria for the park expansion? And I'm just kind of inferring here from public comment from NAB.
Thank you, Commissioner Becerra. Leah Picotti for the record. I'm not entirely sure exactly what you're asking.
Let's see. Well, how about this? NAB's concerned about tree loss. I guess can the county commit to maintaining or increasing shade tree canopy coverage as part of future development phases?
I'd have to defer to the applicant.
Commissioner Becerra, this is Mike Rayleigh for the record. Right now, we're not considering a project, so there's nothing, we cannot condition this zone change. When the county does come forward with future expansion plans, they'll be held to our development standards. Part of the reason that this makes more sense is it's an existing park. It doesn't make sense to apply MS zoning standards to a park. But that does not get them out of complying with basic city codes.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for clarifying that, Mike. I appreciate it. At this time, I don't have any other questions. I think it's good that we're getting this into conformance, so thank you.
All right, we have any other questions from the commission? Okie dokie. We will close that section and move on to commission discussion. And then a possible motion if somebody has one.
Commissioner Confantini, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
Based on the compliance with the applicable findings, I move to recommend that the City Council approve the zoning map amendment.
Commissioner Del Villar, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Point of clarification.
Aye.
Was there an LDC number there?
There is not.
Not sure if I missed it.
Can you?
Can I reread it?
Yeah,
No
just
problem. Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move case LDC 26-00011. I move to recommend that the City Council approve the zoning map amendment. If you'd like me to do that again, I'd be happy to. Sorry.
Got it, Kelly. Okay.
This is Commissioner Del Villar, I second.
All right, a second by Commissioner Del Villar. All right, and for a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that concludes item 7.34. Just give a moment here, and we'll have Chair Jochman right back.
All right, and item 8.1, just as a following clarification, City Manager Jackie Bryan is sick tonight, so we will be hearing that at the next Planning Commission meeting in a little over 2 weeks. Item number 9, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. Commissioner Velto, would you like to give this one?
I don't believe there's anything to report. I'm trying to remember from the last meeting, but I don't really have anything to report.
I can add to that. On September 25th, we had 2 items there. There was the presentation of the Cold Springs water balance analysis. We heard that, and then the regional plan amendment, annual review and update of the regional plan, that was passed. That was the business of that last TMRPA meeting. Moving on. Item number 10, Commissioner's suggestions for future agenda items. Hearing none, we will move forward to item number 11, public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests under this item?
I think we just have Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Commissioner Becerra for the record. Just wanted to take a brief moment to share an update on the community-led data center convening held on October 1st at the UNR Innovation Center. I attended along with a lot of folks across jurisdictions and sectors. I think it went really well. It was an open public event with over 65 participants from City of Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, Story County, Lyon County, cities of Henderson, Fernley, research arms, and private sector planners and consultants. I've submitted written remarks that kind of expand upon this in more detail, but I'll just close by thanking everyone who's contributed, and definitely the Reno planning staff for supporting where they could, including their attendance, in helping advance this conversation for our community's long-term well-being. Thank you.
With that, I don't have any other public comment.
Okay, hearing none, we will move to item number 12, adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Williams, motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Constantini, second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks all. Good night.
Thanks, bye.